Have you gentlemen heard of the book Conversations with God?
Oh, Neil Donald Walsch, man.
Neil Donald Walsch. There was one statement that during his conversation with God that he said, and to me, this would be a perfect way to wrap up the mentalism piece, is when God was speaking to Neil Donald Walsch, he stated to him, man can be anything he so chooses. The only problem is you keep changing your mind.
Ooh!
So it goes right to everything. As long as you choose something and you choose it each and every single day and never change your mind, there's no way that it's not gonna be yours. But people, as it goes on, they come across an obstacle, they come across a trial and tribulation, and maybe this isn't for me, they go somewhere else. If the going gets rough, they choose to change their course. But if you stay the path, regardless what's happening or regardless what you run into, your mind will manifest exactly what you decided to become all along.
Rocking you. It's your boys, More Than Black or White Health Podcast, baby. And we got our brother.
Always a pleasure.
Francis.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Who you with?
Always a pleasure.
Yes.
Brian, Paul, my brothers, man.
We love you having you on, man.
Paul, more you. Brian, he a little shaky sometimes.
Now, viewers, can you feel the love already? Can you feel it?
Every time.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Ace, how you guys doing today?
I'm feeling good, man. Got up early, got a good workout in, got a good breakfast in, did my meditation. I'm ready to roll, man. Got my notes in front of me. Ready.
Let's go. Let's go. Francis, how you doing, bruv?
I mean, I'm blessed. I ain't got notes. I ain't like Brian, but I'm blessed, man. I can't complain at all. Got my workout in this morning too.
Yo, bless up, man. Bless up. And I'm feeling fresh. I got my sun salutations in this morning, some breath work, because I had a little bit too much tequila last night.
No. That's later. Cinco de Mayo, man. That's later.
Well, yeah, man. I got the early celebraciones. It was tip top.
Oh yes.
And I'm feeling full of wisdom right now because I got to meet with some really influential people. And I don't know how you guys feel, but like whenever I get a good amount of wisdom, bro, I feel like I'm elevated. Like, pew, my trajectory just went like from here to here. Pew, it's a wrap. Because it's said that the lips of wisdom are only open to the ears of understanding.
No way.
That's what they say.
Way.
And when you say, hey, Paul, who said that? I'm going to tell you.
The Kyballion.
Yep.
Paul, I was just sharing this with my cousin yesterday. Just sharing this. You took the words right from me. I guess that's how we're going to open up, man. I guess that's how we're going to open up.
You already know, son. Look, so everybody
said that. That's so crazy that you said that.
That's how we do.
Just yesterday.
So, I'm telling you. So listen, this like now people that are watching, for those that this is the first time coming or seeing the show, bless up. Welcome. This is the More Than Black or White Health Podcast. This podcast's purpose is for you to take control of your health with whoever you have as support, whether it's your doctor, your chiropractor, whoever. This is about helping you take control of your health physically, mentally, spiritually. Brian and I have been doing this. If you guys go back onto the podcast and to the channel, you'll see a slew of different titles, topics, and man, we're just getting started. We're not even at a year, and we're going to infinity and beyond, baby. So
coming up on a year, man. Coming,
bruh.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
Flew by.
Man. Listen, man. Time flies when you have fun.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. Now, for the people that are coming back and watching us, thank you so much for subscribing, for liking. The comments have been tip top. Listen, Brian's been responding to the comments. I've been tapping in. I've been reading, and I really appreciate you all tapping in, diving into what we're talking about here, because it's extremely important, and it's here for you, man. That's why we care about this. Now, one of the things not one, but the main thing that we're going to talk about today is stem from what Francis was talking about, the Kyballion. If this is the first time that you're hearing about it, the Kyballion is, I'll put it to you this way. It's a set of keys, okay? Universal keys to unlock knowledge, wisdom, how this whole thing around us called life works. And it was originated in something called the Hermetic Principles. What the hell is that, Paul? Well, I'm glad you asked. This guy, Hermês Trismegistos, otherwise known as Thoth or Tahuti, I think he's also called Mercury in some cultures, but he's known by many names. He presented these different laws for us, for all. And Francis, when I was just said that quote, this quote that I said, that Francis was like, yo, I was just talking about this yesterday. This is in the beginning of the Kyballion. So what we're going to do to help you get acquainted to this is each of us are going to share how we got connected to this. And then we're going to go into the 7 different principles or keys in the Hermetic Principles. All right. So Francis, since you are our guest, my guy, we want you to have the honor of sharing with us first. How did you come across the knowledge of the Kyballion, the Hermetic Principles?
I initially came across the knowledge of the Hermetic Principles through a book called The Stellar Man. I believe that book was written by John Baines. I believe I told you about that book.
Yep.
And it's strange how I came across it, because I had that book for years. And the first time I tried opening that book, as it said, that's where, to me, I think the quote is so important. I was very religious, almost to an extreme. And, I was at the point where what the Bible said is what it was.
Yeah.
So when I first opened up the book, the very first chapter, it almost contradicted biblical history. And I closed the book. No. Immediately shut it down and refused to read it. But as time went on, and I was really seeking God beyond religion, seeking God beyond scripture, seeking God personally, I managed to find my way right back to this book. And, I said, you know what? Let me try to keep an open mind and get past this first chapter. And my mind was blown. My mind was blown after that. So, and it's funny, the first chapter had nothing to do with anything. It was almost like a test, so to speak, a test to see if your ears were willing to understand. Otherwise, the lips would be sealed. If I wasn't in a position to even understand the literature, I wouldn't even get into the book. So it's funny how that worked.
Ain't it though? And bro, yo, Francis, thank you for that, because you just helped me remind something. You just helped me remember something. People that are listening to this, especially, please, the invitation here is to have an open mind. Because what Francis experienced was the same thing I was experiencing. I was like, shut, blasphemy, you! Blasphemy!
Yeah.
Yo, I was like, no, get out of here! As a recovering Jehovah's Witness, bro, I was like, yo, this goes against the Biblioteca. Well, that's actually a library, but it goes against the Bible. And I had to have an open mind. So Frank, thank you for saying that. And people, again, the invitation is, as we go through this, just please have an open mind. You can go back to what you believe. We're just bringing this out here so you have an understanding of what's available. So Francis, thank you, bro. There's a couple things I'm going to come back to, but we'll come back. So B, talk to us, bruv.
I want to hear what Brian got to say.
Yo, so actually the first time I've heard about it in passing, like probably like a decade ago, but didn't really, it just kind of went one ear out the other and blah, blah, blah. Then I remember we all went out one day, got some sushi, right? We all went out and we started, every time we go out, we started having deep conversations right on the back. Before the alcohol even gets in our system, we're diving into this stuff, right?
This is true.
True words, bro.
I remember sitting there and you guys started talking about the Kyballion. I was like, what the fuck is that? I heard about it, but I didn't know too much about it. You started going through the principles. I was like, I've heard one or two. And then, Francis, you told me about the Stellar Man, wrote it down. Still haven't gotten the book yet. I'm working on it. I just wrote it down again while you were saying it. So But I was like,
I
at the
love
time, like I've had this conversation with Paul. I said one of my bad habits is like I have like 10 books and I'm only like through chapter 2, like on all of them. Like, and I never finish a book. So I'm like, all right, let's finish this book. Let's move on to the next book. So
I love it.
fast forward like 4 months later, and I was telling Paul this story on our last episode, on our imagination episode, where I was actually in Kosovo, and I get through the country, you know, illegally. You watch the episode, and I'll tell you that one. And
that was a good episode.
Yeah. So I get to this hotel where I have a booking, and they're like, "Oh, we double booked you." So they're like, I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, oh, you got to go. I'm like, well, you know, tell me a place. I'm like, I have no idea where the hell I am, you know? So they go like, oh, go down this road and find there. So long story short, I wound up meeting up at this hostel, and it was like it was a husband and wife that just opened up this hostel. So I'm just kind of like looking through. They have like a library. Every time I see a library, like a books or a bookshelf of books, I'm like, right into it. Like that's like it's like draws me. It's like a magnet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading through it. I'm going through it. I'm like, the Kyballion. I'm like, holy shit. And if you know anything about like, you know, Kosovo, like they're very like 98% of the country is like Muslim and like a little bit of Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox. So like I didn't really think I would find, you know, anything on the Kyballion in there. And the lady's like, oh, you like that? I was like, oh, my buddies were just kind of introducing me in this a few months ago. He's like, take it. So I took the book and I read it, and then it just like blew my mind, opened up a whole new. It was a big paradigm shift for me. I loved it. And I started applying this to my life more and more and more. And yeah, to me, like these are like the foundational laws of the universe. So blessed up to you guys, and blessed up to the people kicking me out in my hotel in Kosovo.
Hey man, it all happens for a reason, man.
It all happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Yo, look, B, I appreciate you so much, man, because Lord God, man, Francis, we have influence. And bro, thank you for hearing what we were saying, man, and going with the recommendation. And it's very interesting. A couple things I took out of what you said. The first one was, you know, just you had the intrigue, you had it in your mind about the Kyballion, and it was of interest to you, and then it found you.
Yeah.
And in the culture that it found you in, right, which was a shock, but then you shared how it was a game changer, man. It really shifted how you perceive things, and I think it's guys, as we go through this, I'm also I'm going to ask you guys to help me out so we can do the best that we can. I would like for us, as we go through the different keys or the different laws in the Kyballion, if we could also find a way to share, if one or all of us can share how it can be applied, because I think it's great that we're sharing this knowledge. And believe me, people, by no means are we going to go over everything. We have a certain period of time. This is an intro. This is like that wedge to get you into more knowledge if you choose. Okay. So I'll share real quick about how I got into the Kyballion. My guy, Ivy, I had a spiritual mentor. God, how long ago was that? I don't know. Like it was like 7 or 8 years ago. And he's up in Vermont. He's this really dark, black-skinned man. He's got this voice like, Paul, you're too stuck in your lower vibration chakras. And he would smoke a cigarette, and he had this pyramid in it, like this copper pyramid, and it was crazy. So I was asking him about, like, you know, at that time I wanted to take shamanism to another level and my practices to another level. And he was like, I want you to read the Kyballion. And I was like, what the fuck, Kyballion? And he gave it to me in a spiral notebook. So I was like, all right, okay. And again, like what Frank was saying, I was like, this is blasphemy. And when I finally was able to settle down and put that stuff aside and read through it, I studied that thing because I was like, yo. And for anyone that's ever read a book and the passage hits you like a freaking sledgehammer upside your head, I would read a passage and I'd be like, what the hell? Like, what just happened? Yeah. So that's how I got introduced to it. Ivy, bless up to Ivy Hardy, man. This dude is truly galactic, man. So he was the guy that put me on the path. to really learn about the Kyballion, because he expressed to me, he was like, Paul, I think in whatever endeavor you take on in your life, he said, I think it's important for you to know these keys. And he described them as keys. And we're, without any further ado, people, we're going to go into the first law, the first, well, I'm going to, listen, for consistency, we talked about the Kyballion as a book, right? And each of these that we're going to cover are the Hermetic Principles, okay? They're Hermetic Principles. So if you're going to research this some more, research Hermetic Principles, okay? So the first Hermetic principle is mentalism, the law of mentalism. All is mind. So guys, when you first read about mentalism, in like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 or 13 sentences, what did you interpret in the law of mentalism? Any guy can go first.
Go ahead, Francis.
Okay. Basically, the world that you live in, or I'll tie it to something I've kind of perceived as time went. That heaven and hell are states of mind. So mentalism is basically, it's a result of your own perception. So however you perceive things, that'll exactly be what it is. So if you perceive your work as a burden, that's what it'll be. If you perceive your work as a blessing, that's what it will be. So it all depends on where you orient your mind. So whatever your mind conceives, that's exactly what it'll bring about. Because
whatever your mind,
your behavior will almost mirror what you believe. So if you believe something to be positive, then your behavior will mimic that. If somebody believes that, hey man, as long as I have my lucky draws, I'll be able to win my basketball game. That's in his mind. The day he doesn't wear those draws, it will influence his performance, not because his underwear was magical, but because his mind will allow him to believe that without this item, I won't be able to perform as I should. But it's all in your mind. So whatever you believe, that's exactly what will come about.
Bruh.
Mind, really.
Dude, bruh. So when you, and thank you, when you were talking about what you can conceive, it just automatically brought me back to one of the first Napoleon Hill quotes I heard. What the mind can conceive and believe, one can achieve.
Yeah.
Which is the mentalism piece, man. Brother, thank you for sharing that. B, what was it for you, man? What did you interpret?
So when I think of mentalism, like I always, you always kind of hear it like, hey, whatever you believe is going to manifest. So I always like to kind of, I'm like a little bit of left brain in this too. Like I need to find out like, what's the science behind it? So like Max Planck, he has a good quote out there. Max Planck, for those who don't know, he was like the godfather of quantum physics. And he said, there is no such matter as such. We must conclude at the base of everything is just a conscious mind. So all of it is a mental construct, and we can't separate it. So you need to realize that each experience you have is not happening to you; it's happening for you. So most people, they walk around, oh, poor me. These people are so mean to me. This is always happening to me. I'm a victim, blah, blah, blah. Or you can take the maturity of the spiritual approach and say, what is the universe or my subconscious trying to teach me? What is my higher self trying to project back to me? And then hopefully you come to a realization and be like, I'm actually manifesting this out into the material world. And what's interesting, as I started, like, again, once I read the Kyballion, I went down the rabbit hole a little bit. And another thing that really kind of stuck out to me, which I really didn't think about, was there is no such thing as like true objective reality, meaning we all see the world through our own prism. We all think that our perceptions of something is objective, but as we start to expand like your awareness and you gain, again, more spiritual maturity, we realize that there is different ways of looking at the same things or different circumstances. So, nobody watches the same movie. Nobody reads the same book. We all we all are watching it through our lens. And when you realize this, you start having a better understanding of humanity. You start having more compassion, more empathetic. You have more of a loving nature, because who to say you're right the way you view something? How do you know they're not right? And at the end of the day, who cares about being right or wrong? It's about, raising your vibration. So it's like we're all living in this, our own multiverse within the universe, which is our own perspective. So that's the way I kind of look at mentalism.
Bless up, bro. Thank you for that. The thing that really resonated, well, you a lot of things of what you said resonated. Same with Frank, same with Francis. We all see things through a prism. And B, I think you and I talked about, did we talk about this in imagination? I'm trying to remember when we spoke about, like, most of what we see isn't real. It's like, it's a projection of our mind.
Yeah.
So this is why for me, when I read this passage probably, I know it was at least 3 times before I moved on to the next principle. And I thought it was really fascinating because, again, if I believe something, it's what it is, right? It's like, and that's the power of the mind. That's one of the things that's so important about being mindful or having a meditation or a presence practice. And this is the application of this, because when people will say, well, I can't meditate because I can't quiet my mind. Sometimes it's not about quieting your mind. Your mind is one of the most powerful vessels in existence. AI is modeled after a mind, man. Like, a lot of these things that are complex are modeled after our minds. The thing that's important to note is that when you can sit and notice where your mind is going, what are the recurring thoughts, then you can begin to rewire and reprogram those thoughts. A lot of times people will call this an affirmation. A lot of times people will call this like guys, what are the things I'm thinking of? It's
like mantras.
Like mantras, yes.
Yeah.
Reprogramming. Sometimes it's like some of my teachers have even used mirror work as a way to change my mind and address rewire traumas or my limiting belief system. Yeah. So the mentalism and all is mind, as Brian, as Francis was saying, it's like that conscious mind piece, and really creating your reality and what do you believe, and then shifting what are you seeing through your prism? Can you have the ability to open up? And so that's the concept of mentalism. And that also, once you embrace the concept of mentalism, then the next principle becomes even clearer. And this is a law of correspondence. For people that have, got some,
One piece I gotta say before you jump into course.
Please, go ahead, bro.
Have you gentlemen heard of the book Conversations with God?
Oh, Neil Donald Walsh, man.
Neil Donald Walsh. There was one statement that during his conversation with God that he said, and to me, this would be a perfect way to wrap up the mentalism piece, is when God was speaking to Neil Donald Walsh, he stated to him, man can be anything he so chooses. The only problem is you keep changing your mind.
Ooh!
So it goes right back to everything. As long as you choose something and you choose it each and every single day and never change your mind, there's no way that it's not going to be yours. But people, as it goes on, they come across an obstacle, they come across a trial and tribulation, and maybe this isn't for me, they go somewhere else. If the going gets rough, they choose to change their course. But if you stay the path, regardless what's happening or regardless what you run into, your mind will manifest exactly what you decided to become all along. Yeah. That was so mental. Oh, yeah.
People don't like to take that hero's journey, man. They get scared of it. They'd rather stay in a state of just like comfort their whole life and never grow. You know?
Well, that's easier. It's easier, man.
Of course, yeah.
You know, it's like right. And you know, that's one thing I think people fail to even discuss, the amount of courage and dedication it takes to change your environment. And Frank, I love that you just brought that up, because again, it's about the focus. And most people will resist focusing because something's going to come up, some thought's going to come up, and or they see something in their environment. And the thing that they may fail to recognize is that thing that they're seeing in their environment lives in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that ties to the next principle, or the next Hermetic principle, which is the law of correspondence.
Mm-hmm.
I said the law of correspondence.
Yeah.
And it is a law. And people may already know this law if you've heard the term as above, so below. As above, so below. So it means like what's happening here is happening inside. What's happening in the micro is happening in the macro, baby. All right. So this comes to it. Like people are like, why is this always happening to me? Because you got it inside you.
Mm-hmm.
You got it inside you. Until you start to make some shifts and changes, mother hoo-ha, you're going to keep going through the same thing. So I'm curious for you guys again, because I just kind of gave a little break-in. So Francis, can you share like what the law of correspondence, how you interpreted it, and then B, if you're cool with it, can you share like an application?
Yeah.
Or actually, even your experience too. I want to hear your experience too. But Francis, let me hear your thoughts on the law of correspondence, man.
All right.
Principle.
Law of correspondence. I mean, one thing that I can't remember if it was actually from the Kyballion or if it was from other literature that I read. It says that however you perceive somebody, it's kind of how you perceive yourself. Almost like the saying, "Misery loves company," or "People hurt people." What you're giving is what you're getting. Even I still go to church, and granted, a lot of times the priests are speaking, and I ain't really feeling what they have to say. But there was at one point, the gentleman did say something that resonated. He said that one of the scriptures or the golden rule is love others as you love yourself. He said, what if somebody doesn't love themselves? If somebody doesn't love themselves, how do they have love to give to anybody else? If I can give any experiences to that, it's as if I remember there came a point in time where I wasn't taking women very seriously. I was out and about doing whatever, but in reality, it's not that I wasn't taking women seriously. I wasn't taking myself seriously. Once I began to take myself seriously, now I'm no longer looking at women as something frivolous. I'm looking at them from a very serious perspective as far as what they can give, what I can get as a fair exchange. But as long as you're not taking yourself seriously, you won't take anybody that you're dealing with seriously. If you're angry with yourself for any of your own decisions, you'll look to blame it on anybody else. But once you have peace with yourself, you have peace with everything around you, regardless of the circumstances. You got people living in poverty, and they're still at peace. They're at peace with themselves. And you got people who got all the riches in the world. And because they don't have peace within themselves, nothing satisfies. They're not grateful for anything that they see or anything that they have. So as above, so below, what's within you. And they say, as within, so without. So they go the same thing. As within, so without. So whatever's in you is all you have to give to anybody else.
Dude, man. B, before you go, I want to highlight something for people watching. The law, Frank, you just helped me recognize that piece, which I think is so important. I think it's important for anyone that's looking to get in relationship or that has had failed relationships. I think the law of correspondence is so important because if you have had failed relationships, people be like, I've heard so many people say, I just these women out here, these men out here, there's something in you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you look, it's like when people are like, I don't know what's wrong with these people. Well, actually, what's the common denominator? You, mother hoo-ha.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the term for people watching, that's where the term the work comes in, or shadow work comes in. This is when you're starting to unearth what's really coming up inside you. And I'm going to leave it at that. B, what's your thoughts, bro? And what's the application?
I wrote down notes, and you and Francis said exactly what's on my notes. I feel like Papa Doc at the shelter battling Eminem, and I got nothing to say now. Like, I'm just gonna sit there and look
Oh,
stupid.
man.
now.
Yo, okay, hold
No,
on.
but like,
Yo, we gotta timestamp this because I think this is the first time ever that we have had Brian speechless.
yeah. I mean, my thing would be like, listen, if you're looking for love, show love first. If you're looking for, joy in your life, exuberate joy. Whatever you're looking for, or whatever you feel like you're missing, show that to the universe, and that'll correspond back to you. Again, we don't. What we get in this world is not what we deserve in life, but what we expect to get. Kind of like what Francis said before too. You're expecting to get it. So
yeah.
So,
damn, bro. That was good. I thought you didn't have anything to say.
Yeah, I'll find something.
That's my guy. This is I really appreciate, man. I'm so happy that we're talking about this, man, because like as we're talking about it, I'm like, oh shit, there's so many freaking applications.
There is.
Of these laws, man. Like I mean, like I run through this stuff in my head and in my journal, and like when I'm coaching other cats about, just life, and I bring these principles up, and as we're talking about it, I'm like, yo, this shit is so fresh. I'm also recognizing how each of these laws, each of these principles build on the other.
Yes, they do.
Right? Everything ties back in, yeah.
Everything ties back in. It's so freaking fresh. And I say that because as we're talking about this law, the principle of correspondence, I'm thinking about the next principle, which is the vibration. Vibration is the next one, yes?
We can go there, man.
Let's go. So I'm gonna have B go first this time, but like the vibration, now people, this is another plug for the podcast. We did a frequency and vibration podcast. Right now, it's our #1 viewed episode. I highly recommend, if what we're about to say about the principle of vibration is resonating with you, go check out that podcast. Go check it out. We'll put it in the show notes. But B, talk to us about like when you read the law of vibration or the principle of vibration, how did you interpret it, man?
Well, I think everything in this universe, it's proven by science, is on a molecular level, even deeper down on a molecular level, everything is a vibration. We're all vibing at some kind of hertz. So everything is vibration or frequency. Each of us, we have a tool where we can be deliberate about our own vibrational experience. So if you're vibing low, remember that graph that we kind of had, and we showed it up like 2 or 3 episodes.
We did.
So,
Yeah.
All the way in the bottom, which vibes very low, and you have enlightenment all the way on the top, which is the highest frequency. So you have the power, you have the tools to vibrate at a higher level around you, which is going to attract what you're vibing out there. Just like I said before, you're looking for love. That's a high vibration. You're going to get more love back. See joy in the world, you're going to get more joy back. Your vibration impacts the world around you. And if you don't understand this, you're always going to be part of this, chaotic cycle. It's like the hammer and nail analogy, thinking to yourself, oh, poor me, I'm always victimized. People hate me, blah, blah, blah. I'm treated unfairly. And the only true obstacles in this world are the ones you truly believe in. Again, I want to piggyback on what Francis said, So,
yes, man.
That's where I'm at with that,
Bless up, bro. Yeah, I appreciate, man, dude. Oh man. Yeah, those vibrations and frequencies, like everything has its vibration. Everything. Francis, man, tell us, man, what was it like for you? Like when you read on the vibration, what was your interpretation of the principle?
Man, for vibration, to start basic, you put your hand on a speaker that's pumping out bass, your body's vibrating exactly. You're taking the vibration from the speaker. So if everything vibrates, like Brian said, certain emotions are coherent with certain vibrations. So let's say for people who are in a relationship, your woman comes in through the door, she's vibrating at a particular wavelength. Yeah. You feel the vibration just like you feel the energy. So she walked into the room, you know if she had a bad day.
Yep.
You feel it. You feel the energy change because you are now taking on her vibrations. It's almost like I said, just like a speaker. You put your hand on the speaker, you're taking it in. So now, if you're vibrating at that wavelength, you're either going to influence people's behavior around you, or their vibration must be stronger to influence yours. So they say behavior influences behavior. Emotions influence emotions. Misery loves company. So somebody who, and it's like tuning into a radio wave. If somebody's miserable, they'll never hear, if they're tuned into the frequency of misery, they won't hear the frequency of love. They won't hear the frequency of gratitude. They're stuck in the frequency of misery. And they'd rather bring you, again, either you're going to allow your vibration to lower to that plane, or maintain your energy, protect your energy, and potentially influence them outside of their own vibration, outside of their own frequency. So the higher you vibrate, the more you're going to influence everybody around you. Just like we touch on to Christ. The second people wanted to just touch him. People just wanted to touch him. He's vibrating at a particular wavelength. You lay hands on him and you're healed. You lay hands on him, and for that moment, your frequency will elevate to that. Just like being around, celebrities or certain pop culture icons, just being around them, being around that energy, that frequency, that vibration, you take it on. But you got to be careful of what you want to put yourself around, because there's positive vibrations and there's negative ones.
Yeah, I was in a lecture one time, and the guy goes, he goes, guess who has the most death threats every year? We're like, I don't know who. Like the Dalai Lama. He goes, flies are attracted to light. He's like, if you the higher you vibe, the more you got to be like very like spiritually aware. The more people are going to try to get close to you.
Yep.
And you need to be awake, and you need to. This is where it comes in, like getting good sleep, eating good food, exercising, so you don't take on their vibration. It's almost like a force field. You can kind of push it away, and you need to be prepared, because the more meditation you do, more light you do, people are going to want to be around you. They're attracted to that.
But it also the correspondence piece, because some people feel so down about themselves they can't stand to see somebody else prosper.
Exactly. Yes.
So
yes.
But it's how they feel about themselves. It's not how they feel about the Dalai Lama. But internally, they're suffering however they may be suffering. So they don't want to see somebody preaching the opposite. They'd rather try to bring him down to feel better about where they are and feel better about their circumstances and their endeavors. It's wrong, but it's often what happens.
Man, you guys are as I'm hearing you guys speak on this, I'm reminded of the one and only Kendrick Lamar. Bitch, don't kill my vibe. Bitch, don't kill my vibe. Yo, because people will try to kill your vibe, because especially, and this is going to go into another piece that we have, which is, we're going to get into the principle of polarity later. But like this, if someone's vibing, as Brian said, if someone's vibing at a high frequency, people are either going to want to pull you down, or they're going to look to raise up to you to match that frequency. Okay. So even as they try to raise up to match your frequency, it's so important to have your practice, because again, that may even try to push you off. That may push you off here as they're trying to get up to you. So I think it's important to note here that there's a frequency elevation, and there's also a frequency matching. So as you're looking to, like, one of the things, Brian, I really resonated when I was editing the frequency piece, when you were talking about when we were looking at guilt, as shame and guilt. If I'm looking to, as a coach, and this is great for you coaches, we're going to say it again. If I'm looking to help someone that's in shame, I'm not going to try to bring them up to happiness. I want to bring them to guilt. So shame is like, you're a horrible human being. Guilt is, all right, you did something wrong. It's not on you. You just did something wrong. Okay, we can fix it. So that's where we start to help out this elevation, because sometimes it's just like these incremental movements up in energy. Now, I just want to share, Now, also with frequency matching, for people that are really looking to be in a relationship or great sexual partners, what have you, being able to find how you match a frequency, which could be through breath work, communication, it'll help you connect with your loved one in a way that's on some galactic shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, another important moment of the matching before we go into the cause and effect principle is when I first read about this vibration principle, I was like, okay, here's where it may ruffle some feathers. I was thinking about Jesus. And then I started recognizing, one of my friends back in the day was like, yo, Jesus was a Kundalini yogi. I was like, shut your mouth, blasphemous mother. But I was like, man, I didn't believe it. And he talked about actually it was Ivy was the one that was talking to me about how Jesus had gone to mystery schools throughout the world. That's why you didn't hear about him in the Bible from 13 to 30. He was learning Reiki, frequency, all these different things. So when you look at how he could walk on water or turn water to wine, if you have the ability to match a frequency, then you are it. So if he's matching the frequency of water, then he can walk on water. If he knows how to touch something, okay, I'm going to touch this water. This is the red wine frequency. Okay, matching. All right, now I'm going to touch here, and I'm going to make this water into wine. People may be like, that's impossible, and it is not, right? And it takes a level of being able to have your mentalism, all is mind, and then recognize that as above, so below, or as within, so without. Being able to recognize those things and come to a match. So it's very important. Guys, any other comments on that before we move on?
Well, two big.
Go ahead, Frank. I know you got something, but go ahead.
One piece that you mentioned was, and I guess it comes down to choice. You said there's two kinds of people. There's people who will either try to bring your frequency down, or people who will try to elevate to where the higher frequency is.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of free will. Somebody can either choose light or choose dark. You can either choose to want to elevate to somebody, or you are so comfortable where you are, whether it be in misery, whether it be in agony, whether it be in depression, you're so comfortable there, you'll try to bring them down, as opposed to apply the effort necessary to bring you out of it. So when you see higher vibration, there's two kinds of people who want to ascend and get there, and people who want to bring that person down to where they are. And I feel like that touches more into polarity, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I do know what you mean, and that's a great segue.
I don't know if that's next. I don't know if that's next or not.
It is now. Yeah. Yeah. So listen, so let's dive into this, because I think this is so important, man. And B, I'm gonna have you go first again, because I think polarity, this one rocked my shit, bro. Guys, I was like, now this is one I know I read at least 5 times, bro, because I was like, this is not making sense to me. There's one or the other. They're not the same. So B, I'm gonna go to you, then Francis, then we're gonna go into the next one. So B, what was the interpretation when you read about polarity?
I went right into an example, so for polarity for me was for example, you want to destroy an undesirable rate of mental vibration, put into operation the principle of polarity. It's basically what you want to do. So if you're not happy with something, put in the principle of polarity and concentrate on the opposite pole to which you desire to suppress. Yeah. So kill the undesirable by changing its polarity. And so an example would be if you see people demonstrating all the time, anti-war. And if you would say, instead of anti-war with the word war in there, you would say pro-peace, you'll get more out of it on a hermetic level. So you're trying to kill darkness with darkness. It's not going to happen. Bring the light, bring something else in there. If it's fear you're trying to kill, that's, you need to apply the opposite, which is bravery, courage, love, gratitude. And again, you see this with a lot of demonstrations, they try to fight their fears or kill what they don't approve. then that really works by using the darkness with darkness.
Mm.
And try to use the polarity. This is basically the definition of alchemy, turning lead into gold.
Oh, that, bro, thank you for that, because I failed to mention in the beginning, all these principles are rooted in alchemy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Every single one of them.
But
rooted in alchemy.
I almost feel these are the universal. I mean, if you guys saw The Matrix.
Yes, many times.
We're living in the Matrix.
True.
Like Morpheus told Neo, some laws can be bent, others can be broken. So in the Matrix, they're doing things that look to be impossible. They just understand how the Matrix works. So same thing, these laws equip you with the information to understand how the world we live in works. And when you really have a deeper understanding of it and you can apply it, you'll do things that others will consider to be miracles.
Yep.
All you understand is how the world works, what we see, because really what we see, like Brian said, is no different than a dream. So when you have a lucid dream, when you get to that understanding that, oh man, I'm in a dream, I can now manipulate it. I can now move this and change that. It's no different than the world we live in. When you understand it all, you understand that this is real, but not. You can change things. But that's just, those were just, to relate alchemy and, all of Hermeticism in a ball. But to touch on to polarity, if I may.
Of course you may.
I'm sure you guys heard of the saying, there's a thin line between love and hate.
Ooh, I heard the song too. There's a thin line between love and hate.
I think
go ahead,
they're the same. They're the same emotion, If that makes sense. They're the same emotion, just exacted in different degrees. So, you'll see people who went through a breakup. The woman still loves you, but she hates you at the same time because you broke up with her.
Yeah.
So now the same emotion that she once felt so strongly for, she's just as extreme. It's the same emotion. She's just as extreme, just on the opposite plane, just because you guys are no longer intimate. It's the same exact emotion. Now it's just absent. So now she's expressing it completely differently. But it's all the same chain. There's that thin line. One thing happens and the emotion doesn't go anywhere. It's just expressed completely different.
Bruh. Yeah. Man, you just summed up my marriage to a T. Man, that's what, look, because
we don't do it, Paul.
Don't you know? You already know, bro. Bruh, look, this is such a great example because this is what you just said helped me integrate this principle. Because when it talked about everything is the same, I was like, that's not true. But when it talked about people, and I'm going to take it through like how I got this. If I look at emotion, love and hate are emotions. They're on two different ends of the spectrum. Now, what Frank said was, that's what helped me recognize. I'm like when I was going through it and I was learning about this, one of the reasons I went to Ivy to help my shamanic practices was to help me manage and deal with divorce and extra kids and life and shit. And when I recognized, like at the time, like really, I was hating my former wife. I was freaking hating her guts. And then I recognized there's no possible way for me to hate her if I don't love her too. Okay? It's not possible. And listen, I hope she doesn't get this. I hope she doesn't see this podcast. But that's besides the point. I'm just saying, if you hate somebody, there's love. If there's love, there's hate. There's like, people that are married, they're like, I love my husband. I hate that motherfucker snores though. I hate it. There's something. It's like hot and cold. Their temperature. Yeah. All the same. We fail to look at it. We see it as either or. And it's a lot of how we view life, right? Like even in politics, like you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. It's all a party. And the thing is that's how a lot of things in this polarity, when people start to embrace the principle of polarity, they'll start to find that they're able, well, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm able to hear another side. I'm able to see, okay, you feel that way. Like, okay, you're a 76er fan. I'm a Knicks fan. Yeah, that was a great series. We can see eye to eye rather than be like, you Knicks suck, 76ers suck.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for the battle because we're all on the same plane, just at a different space on it.
That's it.
So I think that's so powerful. And that actually comes into the second to another principle, which I think is important to cover, is the principle of rhythm. Because it's like, if anybody's going through, like, I had bouts of experiencing depression, anxiety, blah, blah, all that stuff. But I recognized, like, what helped me move through it was that it's never permanent. Life moves in rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's where the polarity is important, because when you recognize the rhythm, you can either choose to elevate your vibration, change your polarity so that the rhythm, whether it's on the positive end or the negative end, doesn't affect you as much as it should or it can.
Let them know, Francis.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love you. Really, like, I'm just listening to you guys, man. It's good. So, like, what I'm getting out of it, it makes sense. Like, if somebody that did you wrong, you have an ex, they do you wrong. You can hate if they cheated on you, they stole from you. Your first reaction is we can be vibing at a low level. You might hate her. But for you to get past that and for you to work on yourself, and not even for her, it's for you to feel better.
Yep.
You can't have hate towards her. Again, killing darkness with darkness is not going to happen. You got to show the polarity so you get past that. You got to forgive them. But they don't know any better. Maybe that's her journey going in this life. Maybe she was a victim in the last life. She wants to know what it's like to take advantage of somebody in this life. Or maybe you took advantage of somebody in a last life, and now you need to learn to play the victim role in this life and get over it. By using polarity, I think you stop that karmic contract. So your next life, you don't repeat it all over again.
Yeah,
that was good.
B, we got to do an episode about the karmic contracts, man.
I'm actually watching something. I'm doing my studies on that now.
Yeah.
That's a nice segue too.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My guy. Yo, listen, this is big, man. This is big because people, please recognize, and please recognize that whatever you're experiencing, this is like the gist of this is the application. Whatever you're experiencing is never permanent. Okay. So one of the things I'm recognizing is like, okay, when I'm on top, there's going to be a time when I may be on the bottom. So how am I preparing for that? Because like the rhythm is very much, I see it, guys. And let me know if this resonates. I see the rhythm as a lot like a wave. So as I'm learning to embrace this rhythm, I'll shorten the waves so I'm staying more even.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the rhythm is a more even tone rather than like bang, all over the freaking place. So I think it's important for us to recognize, like, listen, nothing is ever permanent, man. The universe moves in waves. If you look at the seasons, it all moves in waves. Like if you have a garden or something, notice like, oh, this time of the year, here comes my hyacinths. Here's the daffodils. Oh shit, fall comes, or later summer. Here's my figs. It's rhythm. You got rhythms, people. Maybe you put on, I know for me, man, I'm still working off my winter coat. I know every winter time I'm putting on a little extra LBs, man. Drinking more scotches. But like, I'm just saying that as an example because there's a lot of examples. Guys, anything else? Because we got two more. But anything else on the law of rhythm or the principle of rhythm?
I almost like look at it as almost like a pendulum, because I kind of look at it like
that's good.
I kind of look at it like the hero's journey. I like using this example, like the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. You basically have this impulse. You're on the ledge, and you should take the jump. And as you're going down, you're like, "Fuck me!" You hit the darkness, and then you come back up on top. When you come back on top,
yeah,
you have new wisdom, you have new insight, you have new discoveries that you found, And then no one just goes on one hero's journey. Then you do it all over again. That's the process of evolution. But I think the goal is to minimize the extremes of the principle of rhythm. So on your next hero's journey, you don't crash so deep or so far down that you suffer more than what is actually necessary. And I think you can never stop the cycle. The cycle of rhythm, the principle of rhythm is always gonna happen, but you can ease the suffering by raising your vibration, by becoming more spiritually mature. So we're all gonna do it. We go probably through heroes' journeys throughout a lifetime, maybe not hundreds, but some big, some small. But it's always the more you change your vibration, the easier the suffering is on that way down.
And how? Man, listen, hold on. I'm taking a picture of this because this is so fresh. Oh wait, did I just? Oh shoot. Yeah. You guys can still see me, right? All right.
Now you're like there you go. All right.
There we go.
All right, fresh. I just had to take a picture because I'm like, I'm posting this up on the social media. It's so fresh. We talking this. So listen, guys, the next one I think is I'm excited for us to talk about. And the next one is the principle of cause and effect. I always think about this one, like every action has a reaction. So guys, talk to me about how, let's talk about what this law, what this principle means to you, and share how you integrate it. Who wants to go first?
I can do it. Yeah. So I wrote a quote. I think it might have been out of the Kyballion, where it says, "There is no chance as chance is, but a name for law not recognized." So nothing happens by chance. It's always something that's kind of put in motion.
Yeah.
I feel like as you gain more spiritual maturity, you can actually become the causer instead of the affected all the time. So what I mean by this is, if you start to control your mind through meditation, you're changing of moods, changing of your environment, meaning like who's the tribe around you, who's your inner circle around you, increasing your vibration, you can have more control over your life. So again, just like we talked about, the pendulum swinging, the extremes are not that bad. The effects they're not bad. And again, you control destiny in your life by being the causer instead of the affected. So ask questions to yourself. This is how I would apply it. I would ask questions like what qualities, what traits, what skills do I need or needed to be sharpened so you can become the causer, not the victim. That's what the principle of cause and effect.
I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you, B. Thanks, bro. Francis, what's your thoughts, man? What about for you, man?
I like what you say about being the causer as opposed to the affected. But I'm gonna touch base on my guy Earl Nightingale. He said that where we are in life is a direct result of the accumulation of our choices. So if you are unhappy with where you are in life, you need to assess the choices you've made in your life that got you to this point, because that's the cause of where you are now. Because everything that we are now, everything that we see around us are the effects of our choices, whether they're positive or negative. So now, wherever we would like to see ourselves in the future, that's why sometimes it's important to ask the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because the effect is whatever you want to see in 5 years. So you need to start implementing the causes now, whether it requires you to go to school, whether it requires you to go to the gym, whether you need to change up your diet, whether you need to change up your lifestyle, whether you need to move to a different state, a different country, whatever effect you want to see in 5 years, begin implementing the causes now. And that's how you live your life. So we see people who are reaping an effect, whether it be on social media. That's why social media sometimes isn't always, good, because we're seeing the effects of people's lives. That's all that they flaunt, whether they have money, cars, clothes, whatever it may be. But we don't see the causes behind that, whether it's positive or negative. Somebody could have been selling drugs, and that's the cause as to why they have these cars. People were working hard. It all depends. But by understanding cause and effect, we understand that, we are in control of our lives. We are the driver. But either we're going to be the person who kind of, doesn't have our hand on the steering wheel, and whether the car crashes or ends up where it is, or we're going to be the cause and we're going to grab hold of the steering wheel and choose to veer and direct wherever we want to go. To be the cause.
Dude.
Go ahead. Yeah, the causer as opposed to the affected, just like Brian said.
Bruh, you dudes, you guys are hitting it today, moment. God damn.
It's Brian, man. Brian.
Yo,
man.
Listen, man. Look. Both of you mother hoo-has. God damn it. As you guys are talking, I'm recognizing how important cause and effect is to personal development and growth. Because what I was hearing in a lot of what both of you are saying is personal accountability. It's looking at, well, shit, man. Like, hey, and Brian, you said something before that the victim mentality is like, why is this happening to me? The victor mentality is, what are the reasons this is happening for me? And this also can play into cause and effect, because if something's going on in your life, you taking personal responsibility or accountability for it, you can look and say, well, what was the action or cause that brought this on? And most people, they're resistant to looking here because they'll make themselves right or wrong, make themselves a victim, and fail to acknowledge, like, oh, junk, like, you know what? Oh, dang. I know why I'm in the negative, because I got that freaking Wendy's double stack meal and I only had this. Damn, man. I got no money for tolls. But like, I mean, I'm using that as like a small example, right? And yet this is what happens. Like, I don't understand why she left me. Well, because you gave her no attention, or because like she wasn't the one and you chose that. You know what I mean? So it's like people, and listen, this is not about condemning. We're never here to condemn, even though sometimes we may go at the doctors. Okay, we still love you, docs. This is about you getting to understand and see that you play a pivotal role. You are a creator in this experience that you have called life. That's the importance of the cause and effect principle. I think this right here, like if you're a coach, hone in on this, man. Yeah. Hone in. And even, I don't know why that flipped right there, but I don't know why the heck, what? Anyway.
What'd you do? What'd you do?
You know what?
There we go.
Cause and effect. I raised my vibration to tilt. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for sharing that. And this last one that we want to rock with is gender. People, before you even think about man and woman, nope. This ain't about physical body and your genitals. Mm-hmm. About something bigger than this, right? It's about energies. Guys, let's chop it up about the principle of gender. What you got for me, guys? What you got?
I'll start it off. This was probably the hardest one for me to grasp. Honestly, out of all the principles, this one was for me the toughest. Because the first thing you think is man and woman. But it's not exactly the case. It's just two sides to the same coin and kind of balance. So if somebody is, I guess if you want to correlate certain qualities to certain genders, you can say men are logical, women are emotional. That's, I ain't trying to get in trouble on this podcast, but
you just did.
We just lost 25 women subscribers, Francis.
Man, we were close to 300, Frank. Damn, son. No, go ahead, man.
Or even women's intuition. I'll get some points back. Women's intuition. So intuition is typically a characteristic associated with women. Yeah. And for men, they have their own sets of characteristics and gender roles and all of these things. They say the reason why the world is so imbalanced now is because you have different genders trying to, I guess, correlate with other principles. It's like yin and yang. There has to be a
Mhm.
balance between the two. So I think when two people are in a relationship, or I think the healthiest relationships is when the man embodies, I guess, the masculine essence of himself
Yeah.
while understanding the feminine. And I think in the healthiest relationship, the woman embodies her feminine essence while understanding the masculine. So I don't think any woman wants a man to be feminine. They want the man to be in control, and the man doesn't, and the man may not want the woman to be the opposite. So it's still one I'm still trying to wrap my head around, but I know
Yeah.
it comes down to a balance and a yin and yang of understanding and living a certain characteristic,
Yeah.
more or less. Brian, what
Got
you?
it. Okay.
Yeah, so this was a challenging one for me
Yeah.
because I was looking at it more like male female, which it is, but it wound up being one of my favorites. And I went down the rabbit hole a little bit with this. I must have watched like 15 YouTube videos, and I finally
Hold up.
found this guy.
You went down a rabbit hole, bro?
Oh yeah. I'm not happy with that answer. I'm not happy with that answer. It didn't make sense to me. And
I love your mind, bro. I love it.
Yeah, I finally found this guy, and I forgot the guy's name. I'm bad, with the names. But and this made a lot of sense to me. So basically, what he was saying was, we all believe this: gender isn't everything, as everything has its masculine and its feminine principles, right? So gender exists on all planes, but as humans, we kind of like reduce just gender to just like a biological aspect, such as man versus woman. But he was saying it's a very limited way of looking at this principle. So on the physical plane, yes, it does manifest as sex, as male and female, but not looking closely at this or not delving into it, this principle will keep you blind from the greater truth. So what he goes into is really fascinating. He said the greater truth is the principle of gender is the cause of all creations. Males tend to be more dominant and women tend to be more submissive. Male energy is positive, female energy is negative, just like a battery. You have a negative and a positive side. Two energies are the same and nothing happens, nothing flows, and therefore nothing is created. Male and male, you can't create, female, you can't create. So creation cannot happen with both male, female, just like in procreation, regardless of what people think. Two men cannot have a baby. You might see the opposite on some of these. Some people out there might think of that. So the real power in this principle on other planes, and one on a plane, is the subconscious mind plane. So when dealing with the law of attraction and manifestation, your goal is to influence the subconscious mind, impregnate the subconscious mind with male energy, which is will, visualization, imagination, force. The subconscious mind in itself, in its natural state, is very female. It's female. The conscious mind is male. So we can use our conscious mind to impregnate our subconscious mind, coupled with male traits like desire, will, vibration, all this other stuff that we talked about. We can will it into creation. This is how creation starts.
Yep. But
this is where most people have an issue, I guess, when they're manifesting things, because there's no male energy. They're very like wishy-washy. There's no force or positive energy. They're just like kind of repeat themselves, these mantras, or in such like a lackadaisical way, like, oh, I wish this would happen. I wish this would be nice. And it's very female vibration or female emotions, trying to impregnate the female subconscious. And it's not going to happen.
Feminine.
Yeah, there's no male force. So your female is basically trying to get impregnated by another female. It ain't going to happen. And another thing too, and another thing too is like, you gotta be careful, because on the pun of impregnant, like whatever enters your subconscious mind, as the guy says, like let's make no mistake, like an abortion it can't happen. It's not an option. You're going to manifest it into reality. So be very aware of what you're putting into your subconscious mind. Yeah, because it's going to manifest. And this kind of goes all the way back, and this describes to a T the law of attraction. having this male and female energy. So that's what I kind of got out of it. And that made a lot of sense for me because I do a lot of visualizations and I'm like, holy shit, okay, I'm using male and female. I never thought about it like that. So I thought it was fascinating. So I wanted to kind of share with you guys and share with the audience.
Man, thank you.
Yeah.
You gave me a good understanding.
Yeah, bro.
From you speaking on that, I mean, if I may.
Go ahead, bro. Yeah.
The one statement that came to mind is that faith without work is dead.
Yeah.
So it's as if faith would be the feminine property, but if you're just sitting there believing something will happen without putting any effort or work towards it, you won't manifest anything. So if you have faith into something and now you apply the masculine energy, like the feminine energy would be the faith, the masculine energy would be the work that you're putting behind it. That is how you would bring about manifestation piece.
Yeah, the will, the power, the intention, the imagination, and force it in there, man.
You have faith on the feminine side in believing that this work will actually become fruitful.
Yeah.
Man, Brian, you the man.
Hey, I regurgitate what I found with this guy.
Yeah, listen, but I think I'm so happy that you brought that up because that was the one thing with the Kyballion that I think could be an even better if. And I'm bless up to you, Hermês Trismegistos, honoring everything that you put out here. I respect and honor it. It was easier for me to understand this principle when it talked about mental gender, which is what Brian was talking about, that conscious and unconscious, because the conscious is like the act. Like, to me, I see it like you said, that's the action, that's the masculine. Like, I'm going to act, I have will. The unconscious is the fertile ground. Like, I'm gonna plant, I'm gonna insert my seeds, just like how you take your lingam and get off the nut juice right up into the freaking yoni. All of a sudden, now you got a child, right? That's how it goes, man.
I never heard before, but I get it.
Never heard those?
Yeah. Listen, I'm trying to make it. Yeah, I was like, trying to be less crass. But I think it's important for people to understand, because Brian brought up a really great point. Because what you both stated was the challenge in this principle was the same challenge for me, because I recognized that whenever I would see masculine, feminine, I was seeing male, female, which is making it the physical. Like, okay, the male's got the penis, the woman's got the vagina, or the female's got the vagina. But the masculine and feminine and the mental capacity, I think, is the most important, because in our society, in my judgment, I want to add on to the wisdom Brian was saying, is our society can get so caught up in, like, I'm going to visualize that I'm going to have this, but then there's no works to act on the faith.
No male energy.
There's no masculine energy to be like, hey, listen, I'm doing this. This is how I'm going to go. Even if it's not even if my actions in the masculine, mental masculine are not that the seed that I planted, I'm still taking action towards that end game, towards what I planted in that. Like, the feminine is a vast field, right? If you look at the womb is a fertile area for life. Like, even I can remember when I took another depth into shamanism, I remember it got to a point where I wasn't even having visualizations. I was just in darkness. And when I would share that with my sensei at the time, she was like, oh shit, you were in the womb. So she took me back there and she said, listen to what's happening. And when I was in this darkness and listening in the shamanic journey, a voice was like, think of something. I would think of something and it appeared in the darkness. Think of something else and it would appear in the darkness. This is that mental capacity, even going into and coming back to the mentalism piece. If I could sit in this darkness, this feminine womb, because listen, as a baby, I don't know what it was like as a baby. If I go on back in hypnosis, probably maybe, but it's dark as a motherfucker in there. It's dark in the womb, man. I can only imagine baby's eyes all closed and shit and all crumped up like this. Like come on, man. Junk is uncomfortable and dark. Yet when they come out, it's life. right? They're open up to something new, something vast. So, man, bro, hold on, I'm just gonna take a breath. We did it.
Did it.
We freaking did it. Listen, I am so proud of us. We went there. We got it done. Listen, people. First of all, I want to have some transparency to you all that are watching. You know, when Brian, Francis, and I decided to do that, we were in the pregame and in our conversations, like, damn, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna have? You know, what are we gonna how are we gonna get this all done? So I want to acknowledge us all for sharing our insights and getting through these 7 Hermetic principles so we can educate others, because I think this is one of the most important texts that anyone can receive into their mental stem, their mental brain stems, into your awareness, into your fields, because these are the universal laws. If you can interpret and understand these laws, the world becomes a completely different place for you.
Really?
Completely different. And if you're like, Paul, you're so full of caca. Okay, well then go freaking prove me wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So listen, this is probably one of our longer ones. And dude, you know, put your comments in there. If there's some questions that you have for any one of us, for all of us, about what you heard today, or about your specific experiences with the Hermetic principles, leave it in the comment. Listen, because we can all come back up on this piece and have a discussion. Mm-hmm. Don't threaten us with a good time now. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? So bless up to all that are watching. Guys, before we wrap up, any last words on what we covered today, or anything you want to share with the peoples?
See, if you're open-minded, read it, learn it, and most important, apply some of these principles to see how your life will change. Can't hurt. Start with one and then kind of go from there. It's easy.
If I would leave it with anything, I would say, I would piggyback off Brian. Always keep an open mind, because we would be ignorant in thinking that wisdom is limited to one specific book or one specific text. Mm-hmm. Always be willing to open your mind to any further literature, because there's wisdom all over the place. But as we absorb it, we only grow and become wiser. So I was stuck before I got this, before I got my hands on that book. And it was a blessing in disguise, I tell you.
It was, man.
They say, always keep an open mind, never stay rigid. Be water, as Bruce Lee would say.
That's it. Love it, man.
Remember, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. Mm-hmm. Bless up to you all. Thank you. We appreciate you all so much, man. Thank you for being receptive to what Brian and I are putting out here, because this means something to us, because you mean something to us. So listen, comment, give us your feedback. We're here. We ain't going nowhere, man. We're going to keep pushing on this so we can help you get to your highest self, your highest health. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Francis, brother, thank you, King.
You guys for having me.
Appreciate you, Francis. Thank you.
What? Bro, 2-time guest, bro. 2-time. Hit him with the 2-time. Pap. Let's go. Let's go, bro.
I'm waiting for the 3-peat.
Let's go. Hit him with the 2-time. Pap. Yeah. Pap. Let's go. All right, party people. We are out of here. Peace.